I'm running out of air. Give me more air. This is something we hear from singers from time to time. I think we've all had that experience of not being able to sing all the way to the ends of the phrases in a song, or having to take extra sneaky breaths that we really don't want to. And often it's not so much about the amount of air in our lungs, it's often about how we manage that air as we're singing. So this video is going to cover off why we feel like we're running out of air and how we can deal with that and manage our air better. For me, these are the key reasons why singers sometimes run out of air. The first one is poor breathing technique. For example, instead of letting the intake of air flow naturally low down into the body, or the feeling that it's going low and expanding around the middle of our body, instead we shallow breathe or we high chest breathe, and the air just kind of goes into the top half of our lungs. And that looks like the up and down of shoulder movement as we breathe. So breathing becomes an up and down activity instead of an out and in activity, which is what it naturally is and we want to use for singing. So that's the first one. The second one is taking in too much air for each phrase, in the belief that the singer needs more air, and actually overfilling your lungs with air puts a lot of pressure on your little vocal folds up here in the larynx, because they're only the size of your pinky fingernail and they get under a lot of stress and strain. If we overfill our lungs with air, all that air banks up underneath the vocal folds, and then they start acting as a valve to stop the air coming out. And we don't want that. We want them to vibrate freely. So just take enough air that you need for the phrase ahead. And once you know a song really well, your body knows how much air it needs for each phrase, once you've really learned that song well. So that's the second one. The third one is using too much air at the beginning of a phrase. So we take our breath in for the phrase to come, and then we kind of use a whole lot of it in the beginning of the phrase. And that is because we may have taken too much and we haven't yet developed the musculature around our torso to control the rate of flow of air coming up through our vocal folds. There's a brake and an accelerator in our muscles, and we want to use both so that we get a slow, steady stream of air flowing through our vocal folds to vibrate them and produce the tone we want. The vocal folds, or vocal cords, but the true name is vocal folds, are really good at vibrating. They've been doing it for thousands of years, and they don't need a lot of air. They just need a steady flow coming up through them. Another one for me is incorrect or not enough abdominal support. And this relates to the last point. We have, as I mentioned, a brake and an accelerator around the muscles of our torso and our core. We want to make sure that we are engaging the right muscles to slow down the rate of air as it comes out, or give it a little boost. And another one is using too much air on consonants like H. How are you today? That's going to use a lot of air, and you might find that you run out down the track in your phrase, in longer phrases. That's once again about using the brake and the accelerator together to not let that blow out on. The other one that I've also noticed is just having an overly breathy tone. So just singing with too much air escaping through the vocal folds. So the vocal folds come together and vibrate, and you could think of them like that, but they're very, very small. And we want them to come together just gently, but not pressed and not half kind of together where too much air escapes through them and we get a very breathy sound like, how are you today? Very breathy. We want that to be together, so we get a much more focused and clear tone that's going to be optimal for not using so much air and producing great sound. And the last reason that I can think of, for me anyway, as a voice coach, for singers running out of air is having a locked or rigid abdomen. Now, some people come from the school of thought of pushing things out or holding things and holding ribs out. And the danger is that we lock the muscles around our abdomen and we want them to be flexible and be able to move and to gradually move as we are singing to control the rate of that air coming out. So if your abdomen is locked, and you can feel it here, this is the area we want to be very soft and movable, that will be detrimental to your flow of air through the phrase and your singing. So let's think about how to improve our breath management as singers. The first thing is to make sure that your postural alignment is really good. So what does that mean? That doesn't mean that you are stiff and rigid at all, not at all. We want you to be flexible and move. In fact, moving is really great for singing. But what we want your body to be is in good alignment. So the best way to check that is from the side. And one of the things you can do is have a friend check to see if your ear hole is over the top of your shoulder so that your head is just beautifully aligned over your spine. Often we get a little bit of a forward tilt with our head because we're always on our devices or on our computer, and that just puts a kink in our vocal tract. But instead, when you're singing, have your head right over the top of your spine. It's probably going to be a little further back, maybe, than you think. And your ear holes will be over the top of your shoulders. We want the knees to be unlocked, not locked back. So unlock them, have them flexible. They don't have to be bent. And everything else is kind of loosey-goosey. So this is the area where you're going to feel some muscular action. We're not going to feel anything at the top. This is all going to be relaxed, our shoulders, our neck, our jaw, and we have a feeling of this width across the front of our body, which is great, but we don't have to pull our arms back or anything like that. We just want to be normal. So we should look normal. Good, awesome. So that's having great postural alignment. And then you can move, of course, within that. The Alexander technique is wonderful for helping with postural alignment, as is Feldenkrais, and also Tai Chi and yoga can be very good for singers. So if you're doing that kind of thing, you've probably already got a pretty good awareness. We want our air to go this way, down into our body, into our lungs, and we want that feeling of the expansion as the diaphragm contracts down. That's going to push everything out of the way, and we will feel an expansion 360 degrees around our body. Of course, depending on how much air you take in, if you just take a little bit, you'll only feel a tiny bit of expansion. Now, as you take a pretty good breath, not too full, but comfortably full, you will also notice the lower ribs will naturally expand, and that's because the diaphragm is attached to them. So they will expand. All of that allows for air to go right down to the bottom of your lungs, and then we can use our muscles around our abdomen to control the rate that it comes out. I have completely changed the way that I teach breathing, and I find that if I keep talking about it and making it a technical activity, it often is worse for the singer than trying to do things that are instinctive instead. So let me give you a couple of those now to feel the intake of air without really thinking about it happening naturally. So that's that reflex action that we're aiming for. So here's one way to find that. You can sit and just take your weight of your hands or your arms on your legs and just look towards the floor. So you're leaning a bit forward and your neck and spine are going to be in alignment. So we're not like that or anything weird. We're just looking towards the floor, and you could even lean over a little bit more. Okay, and your tummy area is completely relaxed and you're comfortable. You've got the weight of your back on your arms. Now imagine that on the floor are a whole load of noisy critters and you just want to shush them, but they require 5 shushes in a row to pipe down their sound. So here we go, 5 shushes in a row. Don't think about it, just shush these noisy critters. Here we go. Shh, 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 shh. All right. Now, hopefully when you did that, and you might want to pause the video and do it again, hopefully when you did that exercise of the 5, you didn't think about your breath in between each shush. The air just came in by itself, which is exactly what it does. So you just went shh, shh, shh. But what you're actually doing is there was a feeling of, hopefully, a feeling of this contracting in on the shush, and then a release that you did automatically between each one. So you went shh, 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 shh. And that's exactly right. That's the natural, organic, and instinctive breath coming in without you thinking about it. It's also a natural, organic, instinctive breath coming out. Shh. So that's what a natural, organic, and instinctive breath feels like. We could do it slower, and if we now take ourselves up to a more upright posture, we still want to feel this thing happening here. It's just going to happen by itself. So let's do it now to a hissy snake. And we're going to do it to the count of 5, and then we'll repeat it 3 times. Here we go. Good, and hopefully all the activity was round here. Nothing was going on in your shoulders. You were hissing the air out, and when you released for the new breath to come in, it just happened by itself. The breath flowed in as you released, ready for the next hiss. That's what we want to do when we're singing as well, except we're not hissing, we're singing instead. As we're singing our phrases, instead of hissing or shushing, we're using the air to sing. And we will notice also, just like we did when we were shushing or hissing, that there will be a slow, gradual reduction in the size of our torso as we're using up the air, because these muscles are supporting the diaphragm going back up to its resting position. And that rate of flow of air is under our control around here. So we want to do that when we're singing, and you'll notice that depending on how long your phrase is, of course, we'll notice that those ribs will slowly come back in, and the muscles here will start to come in and up as they're supporting the air at your pace. So whatever rate you want the air to flow out on is what we'll do. So that's the goal for our singing and using our air. And then when you get to the end of your phrase and you're ready for the next phrase to start, there'll be the release of these muscles. We must release them to let the air flow in, just like you did instinctively when you went shh, shh. You noticed that release. So it's now going to be doing it when you get to the end of your sung phrase. Sing, 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 sing. Release, sing, sing, sing. The release and the air intake happens in one motion. So we shouldn't feel like we have to take a lot of air in consciously to start singing again. So it's very tiring and exhausting if you're using your shoulders to breathe. It'll get tension into your neck and your shoulders will feel tense. You'll have to be lifting up a lot of muscles and bones. Too much hard work. Just let it work naturally. If you're having trouble with the notion of the expansion around the middle and the contraction going in for the breath and then the release, a good thing that might help you is called the accent method of breathing. And it's a wonderful tool to find natural breathing, which is what we're talking about. This is the way that we breathe all night when we're asleep. Sometimes when our mind gets stuck on breathing, that we start doing it all around the wrong way. So go and find some information or some videos on the accent method, and that will be a great tool for you. So let me give you an exercise for breath management. We've got to have our body in good alignment, and we're not breathing up here, we're breathing around the middle. We're not having any rigidity in our body. Nothing's held or stiff or rigid. It's all able to move and supple. So here is the exercise. You can do it sitting or standing. I would do it both. I would start sitting and then do it standing. Breathing in slowly through your nose. When we breathe in through our nose, it tends to go low. Now, we don't often breathe in through our nose when we're singing because it's not fast enough. We usually use mouth and nose, or just mouth. But just for the exercise, use your nose. In for 5 counts. Then we're going to suspend the air in our body. Now, the challenge when you suspend air in your body is that you're not holding your breath, because when we say hold your breath, you'll shut your throat, you'll shut your glottis, which is the space between your vocal folds. We don't want that. We want them to stay open. This is what builds those muscles around here to be able to help you with your breath support. In for 5 counts through your nose. Here we go. Till you're comfortably full. And then suspend the air in your body, keeping your throat open. So this is going to be feeling like it's doing a lot of work right now. We're going to hold that suspension. I shouldn't say hold. We're going to suspend for 5 counts, and then we're going to hiss it out. So I'm just going to do the 5. You probably already had 5, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then hiss it out to 5. And relax. All right, here we go again. In for 5, we're going to suspend for 6 and out for 6. In through your nose for 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Suspend. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Hiss it out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In through your nose. 2, 3, 4, 5. Suspend for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hiss it out for 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. In for 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Suspend for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Hiss it out for 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This can go on. And what we want to do is keep the inhalation at 3 to 5 and even shorter eventually, and suspend for longer and hiss it out for longer. It's a way of building up the right muscle coordination for breath management. Good luck, and I will see you soon. Bye.